a believer in purposeful leadership and the power of collaborations. My guest for this episode of Duologues is Girish Tanti, the co-founder and vice chairman of Suzlon. It's a real pleasure to have him with us in the month of late Shri Tulsi Tanti's birth anniversary, who was Windman of India and co-founder of Suzlon Energy. With 27 years of experience in the global renewable energy sector, Girish has been instrumental in driving Suzlon to become leading renewable energy player from a developing nation to rank amongst top 5 worldwide. He is also a champion of energy security through energy transition in Made from India and across the globe. His belief in the power of sustainability long before it became a global imperative is truly inspiring. In this conversation, we will explore his journey, vision, and the future of renewables. I hope you will find it insightful and engaging as much as I did. So Girish, thank you for having me at this beautiful campus of Suzlon. And I must begin by telling you that for many decades, I began my career in 1995. And for a very long while, I used to think that Suzlon is one global company originated not out of our country. And I must admit that this was my naivety for believing this, for the sheer reason that the standards which it set and the reason it was much ahead of its time in terms of taking those leaps into development of technology and its deployment for something which is very fashionable today, say renewables and sustainability. You've been doing that almost for 30 years. So thank you for having me at this beautiful campus, which also resonates this whole philosophy of yours, which you are leading from the front, One Earth as it is called. I'm sure this conversation is going to reflect of what Suzlon does, and we'll also dive deep into understanding what makes you what you are. So thank you very much.
No, first of all, let me also thank you. I think it's been wonderful that you've taken time to visit us. So happy to chat with you today.
My pleasure. So, Suzlon is synonym to wind farms, to equipments, to turbines, which sort of convert air or wind into electricity. So tell us that how did Suzlon come into existence in the first instance? I understand that you're celebrating the birth anniversary of Mr. Tulsi Tanti, and he was a legend, we all know, one of the pioneers in this particular industry. So tell us that how did Suzlon come into existence? Was there a reason or an idea behind it?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, of course, it's a wonderful time to meet you during his birth anniversary month. So I think if you look at where we started, the original journey for us has been, how do we make affordable energy? When we were looking for that, and India by nature does not have that kind of, at that time, of course, conventional energy was amongst the largest, but there also we were greatly dependent on imports.
Right.
So really for a country like ours, how do we look at having sustainable energy on a long-term basis? I think it was a ahead of time thought which our founder, Mr. Tulsi Tanti, had. So I think with that, effectively, that's where the journey started. That what is that product? How do we kind of identify that and work on that? And that's where we came across wind energy. It was ahead of its time at that time also. It was not still fully commercially viable in the world, but it had taken those early steps of demonstrating that something like this could become viable. And that's where we took on that as a challenge and, worked hard to then primarily work on the R&D side, on product innovation, business model innovation, and also to kind of, because of that early stage, our entire canvas in India was designed for conventional energy.
Right.
So renewable energy, it didn't have a scope or a direct fit. Even regulatory wise, you could not generate and just fit into the grid.
Right.
So a lot of transformation work that had to be done on policy, regulatory framework side. And I think through time, the adoption started. And I think the major driver for us has been innovation as one of the key fundamental pillar, both on a product level as well as on a business model level. And then the second pillar has been the sheer passion to make it happen in terms of how do we make that green energy a success in our country. So I think that, and thirdly, we have been focused very strongly on the commercialization. So keeping the cost at the centerpiece, that ultimately it's only when renewable energy cost comes down that high adoption will happen. And I think it's happy to see the way not just India but the world has adopted renewable energy today. So it's a good experience, and you feel good about it.
Yeah, the ambition clearly from the leadership of the country is to take renewable capacity to about 500 gigawatts by 2030. It seems to be moving in that direction. We have another 6 years to go. Today, I believe it is 220 odd, of which 50 gigawatts roughly is wind. Before we jump to this one, that what will unlock the true potential, including the cost efficiencies, tell us what goes inside this machine. You spoke about innovation and, fundamentally kinetic energy converted into electric energy through, say, mechanical movements. And what goes inside this wind turbine, and how has it evolved over a period of time? I know that it has become much more efficient in terms of the conversion efficiencies. So give us a sense about the product itself.
Yeah, so I think, if you look at the modern day wind turbines, these are complex piece of engineering. So it imbibes all facets of different engineering, be it aerodynamics, be it mechanical engineering, electrical, power electronics, AI today. So all of it goes into designing the equipment. But if I was to explain in a very simpler way, then typically what happens is that you are working to convert flow of wind into electricity. So the first element that you have is the rotor blades. So effectively wind hits the rotor blades. They are designed in such a way that with less wind they start spinning. And the moment they start spinning, you are converting that into kinetic energy, which is now useful for you to make electricity. So you get the mechanical energy, you get it through a gearbox to step up the speed of rotation, which allows you to then connect to a generator, which will ultimately produce electricity. And then you bring down the power and take it wherever you want in a very simple way.
Yeah, sure.
But
and from an industry perspective, and I think in order to drive energy security through energy transition, it is important that we reduce the dependency of anything coming in from anywhere else. So what's the localization ratio? I know that majority of the design and the IPs are owned by you because you've been investing into this for about 3 decades. So give us a sense of the engineering capabilities and also of the domestic value addition which goes behind manufacturing these turbines.
So, when we started the journey about 30 years back, it was almost everything was imported at that time.
Right.
Of course, Europe was the main hub where wind energy kind of took up, and that was where the initial developments happened. I think within about a decade or so, we were able to build an ecosystem within India. Today we have close to about 2,500 MSMEs across different component value chain, which manufacture different parts of wind turbine. And with that, effectively, we are able to produce close to about 80% local content in Suzlon turbines. And this has been there for past few decades. It's not recent.
Amazing.
So for past 20 years, that's where we have been. We have slowly graduated from almost less than 10% to close to 80% now, 81% to be precise, where we are working today. So it's a long journey, and getting those complex products made in India, encouraging global players to come to India, setting up those plants over here, making partnerships to kind of develop that. But I think this is one industry where India can say with pride that we have truly made Make in India happen.
Yeah.
Not just at a manufacturing level, but also at an IP level. Right. So pure research and development, made in India turbines, and not just for India, they go to the world. So it has that potential from that point.
Yeah, so both ways, like you're looking at bringing the global players to come and operate the wind farms here in the country, and you're also looking at exporting these equipments to the other countries. And I understand while we talk, more than 100 farms globally would be utilizing this equipment. And what's the current export ratio of the total business which happens here?
So if you see India, the total manufacturing capacity for our country today is close to about in excess of about 15 gigawatts annually that we can produce wind turbines in our country, whereas India consumes less than 1/3 of that. So 2/3 actually goes to the international market. So we are pretty good in terms of the export potential. And in the latest forecast shows that by 2030, India has the capability and potential to go to about 10% of the global supply market. So that's the market share that India could get in the global landscape. And moving forward, it could go close to about 20% also. With the new geopolitical multipolar world that we have, new geographies and relationships getting redefined, I think world is very welcoming for made in India products. So I think India has a very good chance in the global landscape also.
Wonderful. You spoke about several manufacturing facilities and where you supported the small and medium enterprises to become integral part of this whole manufacturing ecosystem. Parallel to that, over the decade gone by in specific, a lot of startups, young entrepreneurs with their potential, with their energy have also become integral to this whole growth story. How does this appear on this side of the industry in specific? Are you collaborating with some new age companies, whether it is about innovation or it is about the fact you mentioned that the wind potential and the analysis which Suzlon does or otherwise? So how do you see that?
So there is multiple level of collaboration that goes on. Pure at a research development and product level, we work very closely with global and local universities. So there is a good academia relationship which is there. There are also several specialized institutes which specialize in aerodynamics and different phases, different elements of the technology which goes in. So we work very closely with several of them across the world. And then of course India has been booming with good development of local entrepreneurs. So I think as the industry is growing for different areas, there's always that opportunity to kind of see how we can absorb some new technologies, new approaches with which we can work. So I think that ecosystem is also growing very fast in India right now.
Wonderful. Girish, if you look at the journey of any industry, there comes a time it's kind of cyclic. And while your focus consistently has been into product-led innovation, I believe that becomes one of the reasons of consistent sustainability and say uniformity into business deliveries and performances. But when I look at from my point of view, in this whole evolution where the energy requirements have started to grow exponentially, and I'm very sure that next few decades to come will be very, very promising in specific on the demand side. On the supply side, you are consistently innovating. Correct. So I'm sure good times are ahead. But when you look back last couple of decades, there would be challenging times also. So give us a sense at the industry level or specific to Suzlon, were there instances where you faced tremendous headwinds of a sort for any reason, and how did you sort of overcome them?
So I think the company has gone through different phases of growth and different challenges at different point in time. The first one that when we started was how do you develop your own technology. So that was our first challenge, which came in the 90s. And I think in early 2000, we launched our first megawatt size turbine, which was designed, development, manufactured by India. So I think that was the first, experience of going through that whole grind to be able to make a product of your own. And because there was a core focus that we wanted to do it ourselves, and we wanted to design a turbine because we understood that India needs a very specific technology, and what has worked in some other parts of the world may not work for India. We have very unique grid conditions, we have unique weather conditions, very versatile geography that we have. So you need a different kind of product to really survive in all and this is open to weather, so you need something that works everywhere. So that was one first part. I think the second part was really developing the whole ecosystem around that and making that 80% made in India product. So one was on the technology side, other was on the product side. The initial challenges that we had was really changing the mindset across everything, to be able to allow renewable energy to even get integrated into the grid. So I think that was the other challenge that we had to go through. And then about mid 2000, we reached a stage where we had outgrown India. So we had become a corporation which India was now a small market for us, and we had a product which we believed then was strong to go to the world. And not many Indian companies have made such complex product and taken to the world, and that too in the northern hemisphere. So I think that was the other thing that how do you take, and that time, the brand India was not for manufacturing. Brand India was only IT services. And, taking that $1 million product, selling it in the Western Hemisphere, convincing people that it's worth buying when they could buy locally from one of the large giant energy equipment supplier. Why do you buy something from India? And whether we'll get service, whether it will perform, who will guarantee all those things. So it was another tough journey on that ground. And I think that was the other stage which we had. Then, of course, we had certain other stages where we had the downfall of the financial markets, which with the lemon crisis, I mean, the whole thing collapsed, and that kind of also brought in you have to rethink how you want to now reposition yourself, how you want to redo things. So you go through those various journeys, and I think today we are at a stage where, in some sense, we are living the moment, if I look back, to the same place where we were 20, 25 years back, but with a 100x opportunity, So where the world is convinced that renewable is the future, and wind and solar are possibly the only saviors we have to make that journey happen. So at least that convincing part is gone from that, because it's purely on economics now. Both wind and solar compete any other source of energy. So I think that's a good situation to have now. But then, of course, building that a huge transition. Like if you say for India alone, today we are looking to have 50% of our energy to come from renewables by 2030, about 500 gigawatts. And if you look at effectively in that, whatever we've done, approximately by this year, and will become 50 gigawatts in India in wind. In next 5 years, what we have done in 30 years, we need to do in 5 years.
Sure.
So that is the speed of growth that, 50 plus 50 will become 100 by then. And if I see then for the next wave from 2030 to 2047, it is going to grow from 100 to 400. So again, that's a Herculean task from that. And I think so and this is not just for India, this is true for the world. Everywhere is the same. The world is looking at decarbonizing, and it's moving very fast. And India has set out a very bold target of 2070 to get completely carbon neutral, positive. So I think it's a wonderful time from that point of view.
So if I look at last 30 years, innovation apart from few other reasons would be central to sustainability. And now you speak about this 100x opportunity. How do you prepare yourselves for dealing with this huge opportunity? And when you already are 2/3 of your total business with exports, I'm sure this is going to grow quite exponentially. So ability to have efficiencies into supply chain, ability to service your clients elsewhere with a larger volume. So how do you look at being prepared for this exponential opportunity?
Yeah, so there are multiple elements which you need to prepare the group for. I think first and foremost is reading the market and making sure you have the right product at the right time.
Right.
So making sure that your product pipeline is rightful to serve the customer needs. The second is that making sure that you have the right people in place. Because I think your capability and capacity building from a people point of view becomes very crucial with the right mindset of people. And how do you organize or reorganize your business to be able to really capture that opportunity? So it needs a lot of time and effort goes in the element of making sure that the organization design is correct and you have the right people in place to make that happen. Then, of course, the other element is how do you further leverage the ecosystem of manufacturing fabric that is developed already in the country, and how do you get them to scale up? What help do they need, both on quality, on financial, whatever way? How do you develop further strength for developing the ecosystem of partners? And then purely the last one is on execution, because getting that to the finish line and delivering on the promise to the customer becomes very important. And another beautiful thing that's happening currently is that now it's not that whether you do a wind installation or a solar installation on that ground. I think the way the market is growing and both the technologies and the solutions that are there, I think they are, two sides of the same coin. And it's very important that we have a stable growth of both wind and solar, primarily to ensure that the cost to consumer is kept at check, because that's very important.
You spoke about talent and people a couple of times in your response. So, what makes you attract and retain talent which suits this particular environment and culture? And how does the culture at Suzlon cut across? How different is it, or how unique is it?
Yeah, I think this is just like at core, technology is one element. I think our people and relationship is the other element. And that's where Suzlon stand apart than most of the people in the market. I think we have over the years nurtured a kind of ecosystem where people are valued, people are, they have a purpose, they feel excited about coming to work. There is so much more freedom that they get to work. And above all, it's like a big family. So I think that having that oneness, getting that glue correct is very important, that everyone is connected and for a common purpose. And I think that has helped us to attract very good talent, retain. And again, this is not just words, you have to put it into practice and really implement things. And I think today, with a lot of pride, we can say that, not just in wind companies, but on my customers, my consumers, be it industries, be it solar companies, IPPs, several of them, today you will see that in the CXOs, you have at least one Suzlonian there. So it's a happy moment for us to see that leaders have grown out of our company and taken larger responsibilities and are leading the green revolution in a bigger way. Because for us, anybody who is for green is part of our gang, and we need to kind of, whatever way we can add that extra green electron to the system is good enough. So I think that's our core strength, and for us, relationships is above all. And this doesn't go just for employees. I think our relationships across all my stakeholders is kept ahead of profit or anything else. So be it my customer, be it my vendor, be it my bankers, be it government, all my stakeholders. I think we value relationship ahead of everything.
Wonderful. So while I've understood these are the values for which Suzlon stands for, when you look at the decades to come, is there a vision or a mission which you've set for yourselves, say 10, 20 years down the line, to become as a company?
I think in today's world, looking that far is very difficult. Absolutely. On that ground. But I think the way we are currently charting out our journey is, in modules of 5 years at this point in time, because the world is transforming very fast, both from product technology and service, but also from geopolitics. And any wrong decisions here and there could be catastrophic from that point of view, because not everything is in your control. Right. So I think it's very important that on one side you take the opportunity, but on the other side be mindful of the risks that you are taking. And over the years now we have set up a very strong governance and risk management system as an enterprise, where all key decisions of midterm to long term are taken with a lot of consultation and assessment to make sure that because the opportunity is not going away anywhere. We don't need to be extremely aggressive in trying to achieve everything. I think it's important that we take the right pie of the market that is available, do it at a pace that we feel comfortable, and make sure that we deliver great value to our customers from that point of view. So I think that's how we are charting out things from now. And again, today when the world is looking at with the new situation across the world of bipolar, multipolar world is looking at India as their supply chain partner. So it's a golden opportunity from that point of view. You need to now, and for us it's an advantage because we have operated in 17 countries. We understand, we have even had manufacturing plants in many of those countries. So there is a good head start that we have on that. So at least we know what not to do, and you kind of bring that into your design and take it from there.
Wonderful. We'll shift gears to knowing you a bit more. give us a sense of the background. Where did you grow up? And when you look back in time, how do you then saw yourselves? And is that a bit different? I know that you're an electrical engineer, so I'm sure you're living your passion into domain which is very specific to what you studied at the college. So give us a sense of your life. How did it go by?
So we come from a modest family. Actually, my father was originally a farmer.
Okay.
So it's a modest upbringing that we started off.
You grew up in Gujarat, I
in
understand.
Gujarat, yes. So we grew up in Gujarat, got my early education there. And I was fortunate to get into one of the then British managed school. So got exposure to a different kind of education even in Gujarat at that point in time. And then, did my college out of Bangalore, MSIT, where I did my power electronics and communication. And then I did my MBA from UK. So this was kind of the educational journey. And I think as a family, right from the early days, of course, we've done several other businesses before we did Suzlon Energy. So I think it was always been that atmosphere in the family of, entrepreneurship, innovation, taking on big challenges, trying to do something impactful in the world. So I think that has been in the DNA in the early days of growth. And then, of course, Suzlon happened in terms of this opportunity, and that's where, incidentally, my final year thesis in the MBA was to set up a wind energy company in India. And of course, because things happen so fast, I could not end up submitting my final thesis. But after the IPO, they sent me my degree.
That's wonderful.
So that's how things happen very fast after that.
Right. How do people see you from a distance? Do you think that it's similar or different from your own imagination being a leader, what you are?
You'll have to ask the people. I mean, it's difficult for me to know that in terms of how do the people see me. But basically my style of management or leadership has been where I am a creator. So I like to create businesses. I like to nurture and develop talent, build businesses, empower them, let them grow. So that's been my style of operations. I'm not a very intricate hands-on guy. While I like to do that, I've done it. But I like to now make sure we pick up the right talent, right business model, right strategy, and then leave it for the experts to kind of drive it, and then keep them on course to the destination.
I would be happy to stand corrected. Like when you say that you have a creative mindset, quite often I see creators as disruptors. They have the ability to imagine and create something which almost may mean creating it from the scratch. And while protecting and leading the responsibility to protect the interest of the stakeholders, the shareholders, you also mentioned that we need to be cautiously optimistic. So how do you balance this out? Because being a creator in your own mind, you would like to run a marathon like a sprinter.
Yeah, so I mean the way I have learned the technique is have the right people around you.
Right.
Who can pull brakes when required and who can support you when required also. So I think it's ultimately having that right strength of senior management and believing in them, trusting them, seeking their guidance time and again. At the same time, keeping them excited and not settling for anything less.
Right.
So you have to kind of
one to deal with.
It's a challenging part, and we have those boardroom discussions with management and many things. And but ultimately, we have set up a process, a structured process, whereby idea, strategy to a business plan and a budget kind of flows in a very structured way. Of course, with today's disruptive environment, you need to be significantly agile. Now, even sometimes 1 year looks too long. You have to innovate within the year on that ground. So I think having the right people and the right approach to converting your vision to reality helps in putting those guardrails, at the same time not being very conservative.
Right. Yeah, I heard of this concept from one of our past CEOs called intelligent gut feeling, which is a combination of data-driven insights coupled with your gut feeling, in specific the leadership team, to be able to consistently, make decisions which do not cripple the growth of the organizations.
Yeah, I think that's it's a very valid approach. I think effectively you end up building your thesis based on your experience and the data that you have access to, and kind of understanding the market. And of course, what you pick up from listening to customers, and I think more importantly, it's your ability to visualize, into the future in terms of how customer needs are expected to change, and working ahead of the curve to be there on time, to be able to have a product or a solution which customer is very comfortable to work with.
Yeah, as they say that the world is changing faster than ever, and this was cliched to say that change is the only constant. I say that the rate of change itself is changing.
Yes.
Now, in this situation where technology, these social trends, policies, geopolitics, as you mentioned, is changing fast, how do you keep yourselves at the individual level updated with these changing times, and youth with its tremendous potential coming into the mainstream of work environment, I think, is also challenging people like us with our experience. So how do you update and upgrade yourselves consistently?
So I think multiple things. I think one is, first of all, you need to travel and meet around and meet as many people as possible.
Absolutely.
That's the only way you will get an outside-in view on that ground.
Right.
So I think that's the number one. Number two, I think, is making sure that you kind of are touching base the right kind of partnerships and relationships, be it on the customer side, vendor side, innovator side, the ecosystems which are relevant for your business. You are well plugged into all of them to be able to get that knowledge in time and collaborate with various partners on those. And then I think a good portion of the insight comes from your own people.
Right.
I think your last mile front end people, they sense the things ahead. So having a system and process whereby that voice is captured, allowed to flow through right up, and incubating those products. We have a ideation platform which we run, where any employee could put in any kind of idea that they have, and it goes through a structured process of assessment, evaluation, and implementation. So I think it's very important that you use all these mechanisms and resources available to you, and stay on course. And it's your own due diligence which you have to keep doing, and take some risks and kind of make it happen.
At the level of the business, I understood that what can be the potential reason of consistency and sustainability, innovation in the past, and the ability to be ready for the changing dynamics and the opportunities of the future. At the individual level, as we all know that life can be a potential roller coaster, how do you keep yourselves, say, psychologically or emotionally balanced under both the times? Don't get overwhelmed when you witness success, and even otherwise also. So how do you keep yourselves, say, stable during variety of circumstances in life?
Yeah, I think fortunately this is something that we learned quite early on in our industry, because you had to establish an industry.
Right.
It wasn't there. So you hit a lot of roadblocks and failures early on. And I think that builds that resilience in you, where whether success or failure, it doesn't disturb you anymore. I think the way our founder has got us to think is that in every failure, there is an opportunity. And it's only your perspective. How do you look at it? So today, irrespective of any kind of negative news or negative situations, there is that, and this particular thought process is not just amongst us, it's spread among Suzlonians. So I think generally you will see a Suzlonian wouldn't get too much disturbed by either one of them. And it's cultivated over time of experience and practice on a continuous basis. While you cherish your progress, but you need to learn from your failures. But I mean, that's part of, and being an engineering enterprise, being technology driven, failures are bound to happen. That's where the maximum learning comes from. And it's just that the risk managements have to be done in such a way that they don't overpower your commercial viability of things. Wonderful. So I think you kind of just build it over time.
Girish, this brings me to my last question, and this potentially would be the reason I do. While I've had a great sense of what drives you in particular and the organization also, but is there a higher purpose which say wakes you up every morning to do what you do?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think you know. See, fortunately, we are in an industry which is on a positive track in terms of the feel good factor is there that whatever you do, you're going to leave a better earth for the next generation. So I think that is the foremost driver, where you feel two things: that the impact that you can create through this in decarbonizing the world and leaving a better planet for the generations to come. I think that is the primary driver, and I think seeing the journey from world not aligned to a world aligned, to a journey where now it seems you can visualize it that could happen, is a very interesting and very rewarding journey from that point of view. And the speed at which India is doing it is also fantastic. So I think that keeps you excited and going all the time.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And I think this reminds me of one of the global initiatives. While Panasonic for many decades, or I would say for a century, has lived with this central purpose of ensuring that it gives back to the society in the same proportion at which it takes. Central to the basic business philosophy is actually this kind of intention. Of it, we also announced a program called Green Impact, which in the first instance is looking forward towards 2030 and ensuring that we make all our manufacturing facilities carbon neutral in the first instance. And the kind of impact which we are wanting in this program to be delivered is almost equivalent to 1% of the total carbon emissions which happen annually today. That is the kind of impact we are looking forward to creating towards 2050 through our products, through our business activities and the operations. So it's very complementing in nature. This was very insightful for me, very inspiring, and I wish you and all Suzlonians, as you call, all the best. May these wind turbines continue to rotate to deliver energy security, which is very critical to the future of our country through energy transition. You being pioneers, I'm sure, will continue to lead this path in the time to come. So I wish you all the best. And once again, many thanks for this conversation. It was very, very enriching for me.
Oh, thank you, Manish. I think it's been wonderful talking to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.